Welcome back, everyone. The Samsung Galaxy S21 FE just came out, so let's go and compare it against the iPhone 12. Surprisingly, you can kind of find these both in the brand new market for around the same price. So if you want to pick them up, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now, side by side, there are some pretty big differences you guys can see. The Samsung Galaxy S21 FE is a little bit bigger. The iPhone 12 has a 6.1-inch, Super Retina XDR OLED panel on it. And it's a pretty good panel, as I mentioned before. You have a notch on it. It is 60 Hz, so you don't have like 120 Hz like you do on the S21 FE, but the panel itself isn't bad. You have true tone, and overall, it still looks pretty good. On the Samsung Galaxy S21 FE, on the other hand, we do have a bigger 6.4-inch dynamic AMOLED display, and this is a 120 Hz panel. So this is a pretty cool thing too. You have pretty much no notch on it. You have a little bit of bezel on the bottom, but it's definitely not that bad. And as I mentioned before, I'm a big fan of how this phone is, and I think the S21 FE looks a little bit better on the front, but the iPhone 12's display is really good too. So there really isn't that big of a difference here. It's just you have 120 Hz here, which is far nicer. Interestingly enough, the thinness and thickness between them are kind of roughly around the same. I think maybe the iPhone 12 is a little thinner, but they kind of have the same flat side going on. The S21 FE is a little bit more curved. It's more like an S6, to be honest, but the iPhone 12 is completely flat. So some of you may prefer the completely flat, some of you may prefer a little curved, so kind of a difference there. But one thing I will definitely tell you is that the glass back on the iPhone 12 is far better than the plastic back on the Galaxy S21 FE. Nowadays, people are like, oh, there's not that big of a difference. I can still tell this one is plastic for sure. The iPhone 12 definitely feels a lot more premium in the hand as well. They both have, well, the iPhone 12 has a dual camera setup. The Galaxy S21 FE has a triple camera setup here, which is really cool. They both have wireless charging IP certification. The Galaxy S21 FE, though, does have reverse wireless charging, which is really awesome. So they pretty much have the same type of, they kind of look kind of the same too, to be honest. But the S21 FE definitely is a little bit interesting just because the bezel-less design on the front, but the iPhone 12 feels more premium. So in terms of that covers it up there. Now, another big thing to keep in mind is the longevity. The iPhone 12, even though it's a year older, technically a little bit more than a year old than the Galaxy S21 FE, you are still going to be getting a longer lasting supported phone, technically on the iPhone 12 than on the S21 FE. Now, it's still not guaranteed. We really don't know for 100% fact, but because Apple supports their phones for so long, even though this phone is turning 2 years old this year, it's still not going to be beaten probably by the S21 FE. But the Galaxy S21 FE is still going to be, supported for quite a bit of time. And this one is probably going to last as long as the Galaxy S21. So because of that, you're probably going to be getting still quite a bit of software support, software updates, security updates, and all that stuff. But the iPhone 12 is still going to beat this phone in terms of full OS updates over time. So in terms of that covers up the longevity aspect. Now let's go into a speed comparison between both these phones. Now the Galaxy S21 FE has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 888 chipset inside of it with 6 gigs of RAM on the base model, but it does go up to 8 gigs of RAM. This is the 6 gig of RAM option, where the iPhone 12 has that Apple A14 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go and see which one is the faster phone between both of these, and I'm kind of closing out of these apps as quickly as possible. There we go. Let's get into it. Let's see which one is the faster one. Okay, there we go. All the apps are clear on the background, as you guys can tell. So let's get into it. Let's do their phone calls apps again. 3, 2, 1. Pretty much the same thing, not a big difference. Hopping out of there. Let's go into their camera apps. 3, 2, 1. And kind of the same thing. Now I would take a photo on night mode, so let's go and see how both of them compare here. 3, 2, 1. And the S21 FE was a little bit faster. Actually, the iPhone 12 finished. This one was a little bit slower on the S21 FE. Hopping out of this one, let's go and get into their app stores. 3, 2, 1. S21 FE. With the Androids, I've noticed with these ones, they always load up the apps faster, which is very, very interesting, at least in terms of like the Google Play Store. Scrolling through, not that big of a difference, I can't really tell. Hopping out of this one, let's go and start loading up some of these third-party applications that we have on both these phones. Let's do Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. Now, this one was on downloading content for like a split second, and there's one thing I've been seeing with the S21 FE, this game still crashes on the S21 FE for some reason. I don't know why. That is a massive stability issue that Samsung needs to fix. That is a very big annoying thing. And you can see it just keeps crashing, so the iPhone 12 really wins there. That's a big thing to keep in mind. Twitter, 3, 2, 1. You can see S21 FE is slightly faster there. Let's get into Snapchat, 3, 2, 1. S21 FE a little bit faster there for sure. Fruit Ninja, 3, 2, 1. Now we may run into some issues here, so we'll just kind of get there as we get there. And the iPhone 12 seemed to load it into this panel faster, and then we eventually get into it on both, but I think the iPhone 12 was slightly faster there. Hopping out of this one, looks like we don't have Quizlet on this phone anymore, or Dropbox, which is very weird. Let's get into BOFA, which we also don't have. Let's get into Thank You 321. And I actually do remember I had a factory reset this phone one time, so that's why I'm having these issues. And the Galaxy S21 FE was slightly faster there too, so kind of a little bit of a difference. You don't really expect to see these types of differences too often, but that's pretty interesting. Hopping out of this one, let's do Snake vs. Blocks 321. And the S21 FE again is the faster one here. Gameplay wise, as always, I don't really think we're going to be noticing massive differences between these two, but it's still very impressive what's going on between them. Hopping out of this one, let's go and end it off with Facebook, I guess, 321. And I think the iPhone 12 was slightly faster there too. So overall, I didn't really notice a big difference between these two. They both were kind of neck and neck. I would say in terms of the overall performance of these phones, you're really probably not going to be noticing a massive difference between either one of these. So what I'm going to tell you is whether it's the S21 FE or the iPhone 12, you're going to be getting roughly around the same type of performance. I really wouldn't say one is faster than the other one. Maybe the S1 and FE was slightly faster more times than not, but they were very, very close to one another. So in terms of that covers it up here. Now let's go and hit on the cameras. As I mentioned before, the iPhone 12 has a dual camera setup, a wide and ultra-wide sensor. The Samsung Galaxy S21 FE has a wide, ultra-wide, and telephoto lens. So you're getting an additional telephoto lens on the S21 FE. You have 4K at 60 capability on the front and the back of both of them, which is really, really cool. Now with the iPhone 12, this camera was very good last year, and it's still actually pretty impressive. I don't really think this is an old camera by any means. This camera still has a lot of capability for sure. You still have video, portrait mode, panoramic mode, and a lot of capability for sure. It's definitely not a perfect camera. You are missing a telephoto lens like we have on here. You're missing 8K, but that's not even on the S21 FE2, so it's not a big difference. But this is still a very good camera, and it is very, very consistent. Much more stable and consistent than the S21 FE for sure. Now with the S21 FE on the other hand, this is a very solid camera too. You have ultra wide sensor, you have the telephoto lens too, you can zoom in a lot, but you do also have one thing with the S21 FE, which is a ton of video modes. So if I go and hop out of here, for example, and if I go into my standard video mode, and you can see there's a lot of capability here already. Portrait mode is very similar, but you also have this more option here, and you have a ton of video options you can use here too. I mean, there's just so many more options on the S21 FE than on the 12 that this camera has more features, but I like the consistency and the stability of the iPhone 12 camera. So that's pretty much the main way I can kind of sum that up, to be honest. Now to kind of sum up this whole entire video, I would still say, in my opinion, I would rather have something like an iPhone 12 than the Galaxy S21 FE. I think both these phones are great, but I think this one may be the one I would rather pick up. It seems more stable, apps crash less on this phone, and it's going to be lasting much more longer, I think, in the software department than really the S21 FE. But this one has more features. This one has the 120Hz panel, reverse wireless charging, kind of better battery life with that 4500 mAh battery, better design, reverse wireless charging. I mean, this phone pretty much has it all. I like the iPhone 12, but this one has more features. So I would rather have the iPhone 12 than the S21 FE, but this one has more features, which is very, very weird. So in terms of that pretty much covers it up. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.